This is Tom My Corner, and you are in the corner. On this show, Talk News, I'm going to be reading the FISA Memo that just got released. So I'm going to be trying my best Morgan Freeman impersonation. So, as we all know, the memo got released today, February 2nd, 2018. I'm not sure the exact time it got released today, but it is released. News outlets are covering it. So far, I haven't heard any too crazy reports on it. In the sense of people trying to downplay it or over exaggerating of it. But people have been pretty much reporting on it pretty decently. I checked CNN and my bad, I checked on MSNBC and Fox. I think I did see some from CNN a little bit. I can't remember. I know I saw some from MSNBC and CNN. They were all pretty calm about it as far as reporting. They weren't over exaggerating or trying to downplay it too much. From what I saw, I only looked at 2 videos, so maybe actually the one on MSNBC, what I saw, they were just talking about them releasing, declassifying it. They weren't actually talking about the contents. They did mention a few things and what they thought it was, what they heard, but that's about it. Anyways, let's get started. So, the White House, Washington, February 2nd, 2018. I'm reading from it right now. The Honorable Devin Nunes, Chairman, House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, United States Capitol, Washington, D.C., 20515. Let's get started, shall we? Dear Mr. Chairman, on January 29th, 2018, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, hereinafter the committee, voted to disclose publicly a memorandum containing classified information provided to the committee in connection with its oversight activities. The memorandum, which is attached to this letter, as provided by Clause 11G of Rule X of the House of Representatives. The committee has forwarded this memorandum to the President based on its determination that the release of this memorandum would serve the public interest. I will be pausing real quick because I got my phone ringing. Sorry about that. All right, and here we go. Starting back up. All right, sorry about that though. Anyways, the Constitution vests the President with authority, and also this is just the this isn't the actual memo portion of it. This is just an introductory explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it, and going over history, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. So anyways, the Constitution. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't read this part, but I'm going to read it anyway since I already started. So here we go. The Constitution vests the President with authority to protect national security secrets from disclosure. As the Supreme Court has recognized, it is a President's responsibility to classify, declassify, and control access to information bearing on our intelligence sources and methods and national defense. And it says, see the I guess the page or book or whatever or document that refers that. Anyways, in order to facilitate appropriate congressional oversight, the executive branch may entrust classified information to the appropriate committees of Congress, as it has done in connection with the committee's oversight activities here. The executive branch does so on the assumption that the committee will responsibly protect such classified information consistent with the laws of the United States. The committee has now determined that the release of the memorandum would be appropriate. The executive branch across administrations of both parties has worked to accommodate congressional requests to declassify special materials in the public interest. However, public release of classified information by unilateral action of the legislative branch is extremely rare and raises significant separation of powers concerns. Accordingly, the committee's request to the release of the memorandum is interpreted as a request for declassification pursuant to the President's authority. They're just pretty much saying, hey, there might be some conflict between party or whoever wants to be released, want not to be released, and we've been seeing that go on here. But they see they need it to be released. The President understands that the protection of our national security represents his highest obligation. Accordingly, he has directed lawyers and national security staff to assess the declassification request consistent with established standards governing the handling of classified information, including those under Section 3.1D of Executive Order 13526. Those standards permit declassification when the public interest in disclosure outweighs any need to protect the information. The White House review process also included input from the Office of Director of National Intelligence and the Department of Justice. Consistent with the review and these standards, the President has determined that the declassification of the memorandum is appropriate. So pretty much what they're saying here is, based on executive order that was happening in the past, they have reasons to think that declassifying this information, even though it's classified before, is outweighs, the protection of the information. They sort of what they're saying is the people deserve the right to see it because being classified is not in the interest of the people, and that's what I'm getting from it. And so they went through the process to do it correctly. Anyways, based on this assessment and in light of the significant public interest in the memorandum, the president has authorized the declassification of the memorandum. To be clear, the memorandum reflects the judgments of its congressional authors. The president understands that oversight concerning matters related to the memorandum may be continuing, though the circumstances leading to the declassification through this process are extraordinary. The executive branch stands ready to work with Congress to accommodate oversight requests consistent with applicable standards and processes, including the need to protect intelligence sources and methods. So pretty much with this last paragraph, before we get into the nitty-gritty of, sincerely, Donald F. McGahn II, consul to the president. He's the one who wrote this. But anyways, pretty much with that last paragraph saying pretty much the overall, but I'm going to get the last paragraph real quick. They're saying pretty much based on this whole thing, the president has declassified this, and it's reflecting, personnel and their judgments. That's what this memorandum's doing, and that the president understands it all, and and that people still may have issues with releasing it, and it may continue for a while, and yada yada yada. That's pretty much what he's saying. But the things that led up to this declassification, are pretty much big, and had to put light to it. And so they worked with, different branches and stuff to get this out there. So over this whole introductory is pretty much just saying, A, we think things were done wrong and the public needs to know about it. Keeping it secret is not helping the public. It's not helping the citizen out. And, we need to get it done. We went through all the proper procedures. We've done it according to law and rule and policy. So, and, that's it. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it. And it says the Honorable Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Adam Schiff, or Schiff, how you say it, Ranking Member, House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. So, anyways, so now we get to the actual memo portion of it, and it's two HPSCI majority members from HPSCI majority staff. The subject, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act abuses at the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So here we go, people. We're getting into it. Now, before I get started, I'm probably have pauses and discuss, go over it and stuff like that. So be wary. I'm 7 minutes in, so might take some time, might not. We'll see. Yeah, so let's do this. Purpose. Obviously, this is the given reason why this memo is needed. This memorandum provides members an update on significant facts relating to the committee's ongoing investigation into the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and their use of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, however you want to say it, during the 2016 presidential election cycle. Our findings, which are detailed below: 1. Raise concerns with the legitimacy and legality of certain DOJ and FBI interactions with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And 2. Represents a troubling breakdown of legal processes established to protect the American people from abuses related to the FISA process. So that's the purpose of this memo. Now, next section, investigation update. And this is going over timelines and things what they have concerns for, and I think American people need to know about. On October 22nd, 2016, DOJ and FBI sought and received a FISA probable cause order, not under Title 7 or VII, authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from the FISC. Page is a U.S. citizen who served as a volunteer advisor to the Trump presidential campaign, consistent with requirements under FISA or FISA. The application had to be first certified by director or deputy director of the FBI, and then required to approval of the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, the DAG or DAG, or the Senate confirmed Assistant Attorney General for National Security Division. So they had to go through some people for this FISA warrant. I'm just gonna say FISA throughout the whole memo. It doesn't matter. If I say wrong or right, you can correct me however you say it. The FBI and DOJ obtained one initial FISA warrant targeting Carter Page and 3 FISA renewals from the FISC, or the FISC, as required by state 50 U.S.C. 1805D1. A FISA order on American citizen must be renewed by the FISC every 90 days, and each renewal requires a separate finding of probable cause. Then Director James Comey signed 3 FISA applications in question on behalf of the FBI, and Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed one. Then DAG Sally Yates, then acting DAG Dana Buente, I hope I said that right, and DAG Rod Rosenstein each signed one or more FISA applications on behalf of DOJ. So what this is saying is right here, the FBI obtained an initial FISA warrant or FISA warrant, and targeting Carter Page, and they renewed it 3 times from FISC. But it says, according to the 50 U.S.C. 1805D1, in order for the FISA order to be renewed, every 90 days they have to require separate findings of probable cause. So first probable cause, according, let's say it was legit. Let's say the FISA warrant was legit, or I mean not the FISA, but the dossier was legit and it was all correct. Well, every 90 days they have to find more probable cause to keep the investigation ongoing. Now that they had the dossier, and after the dossier they found, okay, now we got even more evidence, and then after that more evidence to point to the dossier. Now we got facts, bam, bam, bam. They had none of that. All they had was a dossier, and they kept refining it. So what they're saying is, each time a FISA gets renewed, it has to be renewed. I mean, it has to have a separate finding of probable cause. We don't see that anywhere. But yet we have multiple personnel. We got James Comey, who signed 3 applications. We have in question on behalf of FBI, and Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed one. Then DA Sally Yates signed. Then the acting DAG Dane Bointe and DAG Rod Rosenstein each signed one or more FISA applications on behalf of DOJ. So they went through some good processes of this renewal without what looks like separate finding of probable cause. And as we come to continue, due to the sensitive nature of foreign intelligence activity, FISA submissions, including renewals before the FISC, are classified. As such, the public's confidence in the integrity of the FISA process depends on the court's ability to hold the government to the highest standard, particularly as it relates to the surveillance of American citizens. However, the FISC's rigor in protecting the rights of Americans, which is reinforced by 90-day renewals or surveillance orders, is necessarily dependent on the government's production to the court of all material and relevant facts. This should include information potentially favorable to the target of the FISA application that is known by the government. In the case of Carter Page, the government had at least 4 independent opportunities before the FISC to accurately provide an accounting of the relevant facts. However, our findings indicate that, as described below, material and relevant information was omitted. So before we get into this, the list of material and relevant information that was omitted, I just want to say this. So they're letting you know that this is serious business because we are surveilling American citizens for the FISA submissions, the FISC, and that's why it's classified. And the public is expecting the courts to hold it to the highest standards, because this is where things can become very, very, very tricky. It starts here, but where does it end? Okay, you're doing it on this guy now anybody can be tricked into being investigated off some BS, or whatever the case may be, all because, and then if the courts don't do their job holding us to the highest standard like they should, then there's no control at that point. There's no rule of law at that. What is rule of law? But there's anarchy in the waking, pretty much. That's what I'm seeing, what they're trying to say. Like, hey, hold it to the high standard. And what we see here is they're not holding it to a high standard, or at least people submitting these submissions are trying to be slick and trick the courts into, do what they got to do. So we're going to read this and see. So anyways, however, our findings indicate that, as described below, material and relevant information was omitted. So here we go. 1, and I'm going over the material and relevant information omitted. Number 1, the dossier compiled by Christopher Steele dossier, I'm just gonna say dossier. On behalf of the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, and the Hillary Clinton campaign formed an essential part of the Carter Page FISA application. Steele was a longtime FBI source who was paid over $160,000 by the DNC and Clinton campaign via the law firm Perkins Coie, a research firm Fusion GPS, to obtain derogatory information on Donald Trump's ties to Russia. A. Neither the initial application in October 2016 nor any of the renewals disclose or reference the role of the DNC, Clinton campaign, or any party campaign in funding Steele's efforts, even though the political origins of the Steele dossier were then known to senior DOJ and FBI officials. So what they're saying is, in none of the renewals, even though they're supposed to hold it to the highest standards of the courts, meaning you're supposed to have ridiculous evidence. Like, I mean, you got video footage, audio footage. You got you went Back to the Future and got some evidence. You got to have the most highest of evidence, and you're supposed to disclose everything. But they omitted stuff. They omitted who paid for these, who was involved in these, trying to get the spine. They omitted all that stuff. So that's what this pretty much is saying. Anyways, that was A under 1. This is B under 1. Anyways, B. The initial FISA application notes Steele was working for a named U.S. person, but does not name Fusion GPS and Principal Glenn Simpson, who was paid by a U.S. law firm, Perkins Coie, representing the DNC, even though it was known by DOJ at the time that political actors were involved with the Steele dossier. The application does not mention Steele was ultimately working on behalf of and paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign, or that the FBI has separately authorized payment to Steele for the same information. What this is saying is, the initial application notes Steele was working for a named U.S. person, but it doesn't name Fusion GPS. It doesn't name the Simpson person was paid by a U.S. law firm who was representing the DNC. Pretty much like a backdoor type deal. All right. Even though this was known by DOJ at the time, that political personnel, political actors were involved, but they didn't include this in the dossier. I mean, in the FISA application. And it also doesn't mention that he was pretty much in the end working and being paid by the DNC and the Clinton campaign, and that the FBI had authorized the payment to Steele for the same information. So this guy getting paid out the wazoo by all types of people. But it seems like, anyways. So that was number 1, A and B, for the material and relevant information omitted. Now we're going to number 2. Anyways, 2. The Carter Page FISA application also cited extensively a September 23rd, 2016 Yahoo News article by Michael Isikoff, which focuses on Page's July 2016 trip to Moscow. This article does not corroborate the Steele dossier because it is derived from information leaked by Steele himself to Yahoo News. The Page FISA application incorrectly assesses that Steele did not directly provide information to Yahoo News. Steele has admitted in British court filings that he met with Yahoo News and several other outlets in September 2016 at the direction of Fusion GPS. Perkins Coie was aware of Steele's initial media contacts because they hosted at least one meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2016 with Steele and Fusion GPS where this matter was discussed. Here we are. So, looks like they're trying to be slick and do like a hand-me-down. This guy trying to be slick. Like, you have, like, you know, like you got like kids who ask their parent for something, right? And then mom says no, so they go ask the dad, or they ask the dad for something, they say no. Then they go ask mom. Mom says yes, and then you go back to dad, you know, eating your cookie, and he's like, wait a minute, hold up. How'd you even get that? Like, well, mommy gave it to too late, you know, he already ate it. So what this dude did here was, what it looks like, what this is saying is, he tried to, the FISA application cited, like the actual FISA application cited a Yahoo News article as as credibility to say, hey, see, this is, proof that this is happening, this Carter Page stuff is happening, so hey, this is evidence, right? But the problem is that Yahoo article based on this memo is saying, the Yahoo article information was provided by Steele himself, and it was pretty much verified in Washington D.C. when Steele and Fusion GPS were, what they discussed this issue, and that Fusion GPS are the ones who directed Steele to go to Yahoo and leak this information to them. So it's like, whoa, wait a minute, you can't have in a FISA application that this is corroboration is still a story. It still gave Yahoo the story, like yeah, maybe the cookie jar thing with the kid, the same thing, But anyways, Steele was suspended and then terminated as an FBI. This is A under 2, so section A under 2. Steele was suspended and then terminated as an FBI source for what the FBI defines as the most serious violations and unauthorized disclosure to the media of his relationship with the FBI in an October 30th, 2016 Mother Jones article by David Korn. Steele should have been terminated for his previous undisclosed contacts with Yahoo and other outlets in September, before the Page application was submitted to FISC in October, but still improperly concealed from and lied to the FBI about those contacts. So I don't know if that's a felony for lying in a FISA application, but since, this is supposed to be held to the highest standards, it should be just like lying to a cop or lying to in court. It should be the same thing. Here it says he improperly concealed from and lied to the FBI about those contacts. So he's trying to hide. Why are you trying to hide this information? Because he knows that with this information being in there, that the money he's getting is gonna stop, or whatever the case, whatever reason. But he knows what he's trying to do. We know what's going on here, people. So pretty much what they're saying is that he even got terminated by the FBI because this is one of the most serious violations, and yet the FISA still got put in place, even though the dude got fired by the FBI. Woo! Let's go. B. Steele's numerous encounters with the media violated the cardinal rule of source handling, maintaining confidentiality, and demonstrated that Steele had become a less than reliable source for the FBI. So the FBI deemed Steele unreliable. Get out. You're done. Now, I don't know, all the rules, laws. I ain't got time to look up all the, rules and policies and stuff like that. But I know that if you're supposed to be a source and all that stuff, you can't be you can't be giving a news station your information and go back to them acting like they're a source for you, like, or source to collaborate your story or corroborate however you say your story when you gave them the information in the first place. Like, and the FBI shit. Like, okay, let's keep going. Number 3. So we're going to number 3 for material and relevant information omitted. So that was 1, 2. Now we're going to 3. 3. Before and after Steele was terminated as a source, he maintained contact with DOJ via the Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr, a senior DOJ official who worked closely with Deputy Attorneys Generals Yates and later Rosenstein. Shortly after the election, the FBI began interviewing Orr, documenting his communications with Steele. For example, in September 2016, Steele admitted to Orr his feelings against then candidate Trump when Steele said he was desperate that Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president. This clear evidence of Steele's bias was recorded by Orr at the time and subsequently in official FBI files, but not reflected in any of the Page FISA applications. So what we have here is before and after Steele was terminated as a source, he kept continuing contact with DOJ via then Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr. Woo! Gosh dang, they got some long Man, they got some long titles for those for those positions, man. Yeah. Anyways, Associate Deputy Attorney General. Woo. Anyways, a senior DOJ official. Anyways, what they're saying is, even after he was terminated because he wasn't a reliable source by the FBI, the DOJ, he continued having contact with them. And right after the election, the FBI began interviewing Orr about his communication with Steele. So after Steele was terminated, the FBI started. They knew, the FBI knew that Orr was having communication with Steele, right? So they interviewed Orr about those communications with Steele, and Orr states that Steele admitted his feelings towards candidate Trump. And that, so the FBI, of course, they're interviewing him or whatever case you want to call it. They put these files, they put him in the vault. Okay, we got this. But even that's the case, the FBI still didn't include any of that in the FISA applications. So let's go to A under 3. During this same time period, Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS to assist in the cultivation of opposition research on Trump. Orr later provided the FBI with all of his wife's opposition research paid for by the DNC and Clinton campaign via Fusion GPS. The Orr's relationship with Steele and Fusion GPS was inexplicably concealed from the FISC. So here's where you have to question it. Okay, so the FBI realizes, okay, cool, Orr is still still playing a part in this because he's communicating with Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr. So the FBI interviews Orr. Orr tells them during the investigation of Steele's feelings towards Donald Trump. So FBI puts that in their files. Okay, we got to, because we got to put it in there since we did it. We can't just delete it, So they put it in there. But during the same time period, Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS. Now let's not forget, in the beginning, the FBI also paid. The FBI also, let's go up. Remember, under, what was it, Section 1? Yeah, under the first material and relevant information that was omitted, Part B. Don't forget, at the end of Part B, the application does not mention Steele was working on behalf and paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign, or that the FBI has separately authorized payment to Steele for the same information. So the FBI had authorized payment to Steele for the same information. Right? Okay. So then we go down here, back down before, Section 3. Steele got released by the FBI for not being a reliable source. Because I think they said they had a some type of separate FBI division co investigate that boy. And actually that's later. Actually, I read this before already, but that's later. But anyways, so the FBI knew of this. They knew of Steele already. They realized he's still communicating with Orr. Orr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS, which, let's not forget, are the ones who told Steele to leak the information to Yahoo. So Fusion GPS tells him to leak the information to Yahoo. Steele tried to be slick and used to say that, see, Yahoo's confirming our information, but we're the ones who provided them that information. FBI knows this, DOJ knows this, but they still put it in there in the FISA, and they don't relate any of this information in the FISA application. Woo! Talking about a nothing burger, baby. That's some crazy stuff. Whatever the case may be. Anyways, let's go to 4. So what pretty much but the last one is saying though is that it's a cluster. It's a cluster F. It's crazy. What the people are saying is it's a circle jerk, man. It's just going around in circles. Their past is still around. They pretty much fired them still, but they're still using them. You see what I'm saying? They're still taking it seriously. Even though they know he's unreliable, they're still taking him seriously. That don't make any sense. All right? And they still didn't verify the dossier. Right? Because you can't use sources that you gave information to, i.e. Yahoo, as a way to, verify your information if you provided them the same information, if you leaked to them that information. So they know this, but they're still using it. Like, wait, how can you? Anyway, let's go to 4. According to the head of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, Assistant Director Bill Priestap, corroboration of Steele dossier was in its infancy at the time of the initial Page FISA application. After Steele was terminated, a source validation report conducted by an independent unit within the FBI assessed Steele's reporting as only minimally corroborated. Yet, in early January 2017, Director Comey briefed President-elect Trump on a summary of Steele's dossier, even though it was, according to his June 2017 testimony, salacious and unverified. While the FISA application relied on Steele's past record of credible reporting, on other unrelated matters, it ignored or concealed his anti-Trump financial and ideological motivations. Furthermore, Deputy Director McCabe testified before the committee in December 2017 that no surveillance warrant would have been sought from the FISC without the Steele dossier. So here we are. Here's proof that the dossier is pretty much what allowed the FISA application to go through and be approved from the FISC. Because without this dossier saying it would have been approved. And according to the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, Bill Priestap corroborated that Steele dossier was in its infancy at the time of the initial Page FISA application. If it's in its infancy, that means it's not meeting the higher standards possible that the FISA warrant or FISA app, the FISC is not meeting that if this FISA court should be held to the highest standards possible, highest standards possible. If this is just in its infancy, if the Assistant Director Bill Priestap of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division is saying this dossier was in its infancy at the time of initial FISA application, after Steele was terminated, and they reported that it was minimally corroborated. This was a special FBI department, an independent unit within the FBI. It says that it was minimally corroborated, yet they allowed that to be in and allowed within the FISA application and got approved somehow with all that information being omitted. Whew. Anyways, and then you have the Director McCabe saying, nah, in 2000, and before the committee, so this ain't no lies, before the committee, probably could have watched C-SPAN and caught it, that no surveillance warrant would have been sought from FISC without the Steele dossier. Anyways, 5. The Page FISA application also mentions information regarding fellow Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, but there is no evidence of any cooperation or conspiracy between Page and Papadopoulos. The Papadopoulos information triggered the opening of an FBI counterintelligence investigation in late July 2016 by FBI agent Peter Strzok. Strzok was reassigned by the special counsel's office to the FBI Human Resource for improper text messages with his mistress, FBI attorney Lisa Page, no known relation to Carter Page, where they both demonstrated a clear bias against Trump and in favor of Clinton, who Strzok had also investigated. The Strzok-Lisa Page texts also reflect extensive discussions about the investigation, orchestrating leaks to the media, and include a meeting with Deputy Director McCabe to discuss an insurance policy against President Trump's election. So, pretty much what this is saying right here is, within the FISA application, they also mention campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, but there's no evidence of any cooperation or conspiracy between Page and Papadopoulos. The Papadopoulos part, that's what triggered an FBI counterintelligence investigation in July 2016. Before, remember this FISA thing was like October, September 2016. So this is way before even that. So they getting dirty before that. But that's what triggered the opening of an FBI intelligence investigation. But they say there's no cooperation or conspiracy between Page and Papadopoulos. Now look at this. They say Strzok was reassigned by the special counsel. I'm trying to see what oh yeah, that's why, because of improper text messages with his mistress, which we all know about that stuff. And I think they're still recovering all the texts. I can't remember if they've seen them all or not. But anyways, this looks crazy, people. So all in all, what I'm seeing here is, what I get from this is, there's nothing too crazy in the sense of there's nothing too crazy in the sense that we're not really it's not really, how can I say it? There's nothing crazy in the sense that it's not like showing where people came out and literally said, we're going to cheat, we're going to make up this memo, or no, there's nobody literally saying, yeah, it's all fake, but anyway, we don't care, we're going to put it in anyway. There's nothing like that. But what it does show is that based on the high standards that the courts of the FISA, the secret court, whatever you want to call it, is supposed to go through, they're supposed to hold these applications and the procedures, the policies to the highest of standards, because once you start allowing this type of stuff, it can be the start of the end right here. But right here it shows clearly that even with all the craziness from Steele being pretty much by fusing GPS saying, hey, leak this stuff to Yahoo and all these other outlets, and then trying to be slick in a FISA application and saying, hey, see, our story is corroborated or can be verified, or legit, because Yahoo has their own little investigation people and they're seeing the same thing. But the funny thing is, they don't release in the FISA application that, yeah, but you're the one who leaked that information to Yahoo, so you can't use it. It's not being verified. If Yahoo using a story and their story is based off information that was leaked by you, that you're providing in the FISA application, no, that don't count as verified information. Like, no, that's like me saying, okay, people, that's like me saying, yeah, this dude stole something from the store. I say, how do you know? Well, because this website reported it. And going to find out, I'm the one who posted the article on the website about dude stealing it. Like no, that don't work. Just because you posted on the website saying dude stole it, and now you're saying it, in real life, and then pointing to a website, that don't, no, you provided that story. You provided the article. You can't use that as evidence. Like, come on now. Like that don't even make sense. So anyways, that's what it's like. All right. So anyway, this whole thing pretty much is saying that based on what we see, there's no way in hell that this application should have even passed go. It shouldn't even pass the receptionist desk. It shouldn't even have passed the gosh dang it shouldn't even made it to the yes or no box. The printer should have blew up as soon as they started typing in it. It should have error, not sufficient enough. Like the dude said, this memorandum or this memo was insufficient. Pretty much what they're saying is insufficient to even provide a FISA warrant, or what do you want to call it. But anyways, I just felt like reading it out. It's a little longer than I wanted to be, but I did do a little expanding, I guess you could say. So if you got time, just go through like that. I might do a shorter version. If you just want me to go through it real quick and read it, I'll do that without all the extra speaking and talking. But I felt it was not too bad. It's about 40 minutes, probably my longest video ever with this or my gaming channel, so we'll see. Anyways, it's Time Out Corner, reporting on the FISA memo released February 2nd, 2018. It's a pretty long memo. I mean, it's only 4 pages, but I read it out pretty long because I was doing a lot of talking and stuff in between, breaking it up. And I also read the beginning portion of it. I might cut that out, actually. So if you don't hear the beginning portion of it, which just goes over them explaining why they wrote this memo, then that's why it's shorter. But I'll probably keep it in there because it's not bad. Anyways, Time Out Corner, and we'll see what's going on with this. Time Out Corner out.